Hello, this is Late Night Gaming, Take the Initiative, and of course Blue Milk Gaming. And I'm Victor from the Nordic Takedown, and I'm here with Kyle from the Cantina crew. How you doing, Kyle?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Excited that we're kind of getting an extra event, right? I don't think there was
Yeah,
originally a plan to be an event on Sunday, and so bonus gameplay, right?
bonus gameplay from Adepticon. Really a minis kind of convention I hear. Um, this is one of the conventions that you hear a little bit about here in Europe, but no one really knows what it is. But I figure it's mainly about miniatures, right?
Yeah. I actually have a buddy out there competing in a minis world event right now. So definitely, if you're into the minis stuff, it's a big event, right? But for
Mm.
card games, it's great that they at least have some swoo going on the side with these exclusive mats. And here in round one, we've got a loot data vault. We've seen some of that, but running into a Qui-Gon green force, so this should be fun.
Yeah, so we got William on the Luke Data Vault and Chris on Qui-Gon Green. We did a deck tech on Qui-Gon Green just a while back. This is a wild deck. If it does get, it's kind of a high roll sort of thing. If it gets rolling and starts to rip cards from your hand and starts killing and bouncing your units, it can really choke you out of being able to play the game completely. But it doesn't always get there.
Yeah, I imagine that against a space deck is probably not something Qui-Gon's going to want to see right away. I imagine we do have some space ambushers available to us in Yellow Heroism, so there are tools to fight here.
Right.
But we'll see how this matchup works out. Can't say it's one that I've played a lot of.
Nah, I don't think a lot of people have. Possibly the Qui-Gon player has been testing it. Chris might be the Chris that we saw yesterday, and then he was on. If I'm not misremembering, we had a Chris on Lando Blue yesterday. So this is a really good opening for both players, I think. So we
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
we have the consulate for the Qui-Gon there to be able to get something a little bit bigger out uh, next round because he doesn't have the force. This force space needs him to attack with the force unit, but he can do that, I guess. And we
Yeah, and
get a
Qui-Gon here, hopefully looking for some bounce, right? If we're going to suit up
mm,
this ship, then
mhm.
a good response would potentially be some bounce to clear the board.
Right, and we do have a 4/4 essentially now with Black One having R2 on it. It'll hit for 4 to the base there. And also, of course, enable Luke's ping ability.
Yeah, less impactful as it is against some of the force decks running Vergence Temple that'd be able to
Right.
prevent, the counselor bringing down health, being able to prevent force activation. So next turn, we'll see how effective we can be.
So here we do have the ambusher we were talking about. So this is blue leader, but he chooses not to ambush here. Instead, Luke Ping goes onto it for some reason. Initiative taken. And is that Shui? I think that is
Uh,
Shui attached to Black One there.
no, I think it's the Luke pilot
Oh, Luke
going in on
Pilot.
there. Yeah, seeing
All
a
right.
3-3-2 stat
If
line
it's a
underneath
3/2
there.
stat line, yeah, then it's Luke, definitely. I like Luke in this Luke pilot in the Luke deck. I've been using it a lot because you sometimes want to have that. Then you get to rip a card from hand, but Luke can trigger. And now oh, that's Sabine's masterpiece. Nice, good pull, good pull.
Yeah, I originally saw the Luke pilot go into the discard pile there, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure he
Mm,
still goes to the ground. So we got that corrected.
yeah, I mean it's a May trigger, I believe, so he doesn't necessarily have to put it on ground, but I see no reason not to. And here we get a trade with Blue Leader into the Phoenix Squadron. And still Consular is still up to grab the Force once again. Uh,
Yeah, and having the consular out and being able to continue to get the force, I think, is really going to enable Qui-Gon to continue with some shenanigans to respond to what Luke is trying to do.
right.
If we can continue into things like Blue Ace or additional ships to try to keep Luke out of having a place to deploy into, I think that's Qui-Gon's path towards victory here.
Yeah. I don't like that because this is when it's punished that Luke pinged the Blue Leader instead of pinging the consular, because blue leader, the ping did nothing. It didn't change any stats whatsoever. But with Luke now not being able to take out the consular, he will be able to use the consular probably.
Yeah, it'd be a very different turn right here if Luke could just
Mm,
trade into it immediately as the Luke player has the initiative. So this is going to
yeah.
enable Qui-Gon here to make a much larger play. We can't quite see what's in hand, so we'll see if we can make use of that, extra resources.
And I mean, Qui-Gon is all about being able to do exactly that. If he can play out something big now and then bounce it with Qui-Gon ability into the actual curve instead of playing something on curve and then bouncing into something below curve, it's a big difference.
Yeah. Even at this point, the Luke player has been bounced, right? Has been
Mm,
interacted with, and Qui-Gon even started with Counselor, but still behind on base damage and not really
yeah.
threatening the board at the moment. So I'm not sure
No.
Qui-Gon's in the best position. We're going to see what he can do this turn.
No, this is pivotal. If he's got a hand, if he's drawn into the cards that he wants to use here, then this will be the turn when he starts trying to achieve his goals, so to speak. He could have the 6-cost ambush Jedi, which would give him the force right back to use for the Qui-Gon ability afterwards. But he is hesitating here.
Yeah, it
Do
kind
we
of tells me
know?
that he doesn't have that big card that he really wants to slam down, right?
Right. And he's not using consular here. He's using the force though. Oh, he's bouncing black 1. That is really not what he wants to do. He wanted Dipa Balaba, whatever her name is, but that's not what we're seeing here. He's just bouncing a 2-cost, and we're getting Poe Dameron, and he's going to attach to the X-wing token, I believe. Yeah, they're debating on the tokens here, I guess. So that's the tie token. Are
Yeah, it
they
looks like
gonna?
it looks like all they have is a like a trooper token here. So they were
Hmm,
debating whether to use the trooper token and represent it as an X-wing or just the +2/+2.
yeah, and here we go. The consular actually trading with Luke on the ground. That
Yeah,
must not feel too good as the Qui-Gon player here. I don't really understand that.
yeah. I think
Maybe
I would have
he's
forced the Luke to trade into me next turn, first action, right?
right. Absolutely.
All
Maybe he's
right, so
got
now we're
something
on a
big in hand.
yeah.
So going to 8, Poe on his airship here, hitting for 4. And of course, I mean, Luke hasn't been able to get much of an offense off either. And we are on 5 resources for Luke. So he really needs to play down something for Luke to flip onto here.
Well, we're
And
on
having
six. We're on 6, right? So we're going to be able to flip this turn. I think it's just hard to
oh,
see
is
with
that?
the kind of the
Oh,
kind
okay.
of the
Maybe
moon sleep there. Yeah, it's
yeah, he's
four
got
plus.
4 in one pile and 2 in one pile also, which is a little bit weird. So he's going to rip a card here. That is the air superiority 2-cost event. And now we're going to get... Oh, all right. Blue leader is all he's got. So he is attacking with it into space just to make it so that he can't reuse Ahsoka's, just bounce her and then replay her and rip more cards. And this is a good target for Luke to flip onto against a yellow-green deck, because there's no True Remembers in this deck, obviously.
Yeah, if you haven't played too much against Qui-Gon, it is important to realize that when something like an Ahsoka.
He's just flipping Qui-Gon to be ready for it, but I can only imagine Luke might feel comfortable just hitting into Qui-Gon next turn. So he is claiming here. I think that's wise.
Agreed. We're looking for an answer for Luke on this
Mm,
starfighter, even though it's on the ground, which we don't see
yeah.
too often. But
Oh,
if we
yeah.
can draw a first action answer here, Qui-Gon could be in good shape.
Yep, yep. You can bounce the ship Luke is on, so that's definitely something. If the bounce will allow you to bounce the leader units. Most bounce doesn't.
Okay.
But all right, so he's doing 5 into Luke, which kind of it makes it so that Luke would trade even with Qui-Gon if he would would trade into Qui-Gon, and it doesn't look like he's trying to do that. He's just going base here. He's so far ahead on base race now that it makes sense. Going to 17 with another 4 coming in, most likely. Again, Chris has spent most of his resources already, so few possible shenanigans, and instead he's kind of forced to trade his Qui-Gon into Luke.
Yeah, this is going to give the Luke player an opportunity to hit the base a little bit more and then expand the board lead. I'd say
Yeah.
things are looking pretty grim for Qui-Gon at this point. Not a lot of HP left, has lost control of the board, and not a lot of ways to fight back.
No, yeah. Oh, but there's very few cards in the Luke player's hand, of course, so he is not able to find any big threats to put on the board either.
Yeah, that is one thing Qui-Gon's been effective at here, right? The 2
Hmm.
bounce cards both ripped a card, Ahsoka a third one. So we're keeping Luke's hand small.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, in SWOs, sometimes hand hating strategies are not quite as effective because we draw 2 cards a turn. So the Luke
Right,
player
right.
can always draw back into it.
And at this point, Luke player is probably not resourcing most of the time, so he can keep both of those cards. All right, so we get a sentinel in space, and that might be quite important. That's tentative 4, 5, something tentative. Uh, oh, it's the Consular's Cruiser. Yes. Uh, Still, it's a pretty hefty sentinel there, making it. It'll survive at least 1 hit from Poe and deal enough damage to take Poe out, I think.
And it's enough to just keep us out of getting in check at least immediately. We're going to see what else
Mm,
Luke has in their hand.
right, right. Yes, because Luke pilot on the ground will only hit for 3 next time, so it will not be able to close it without a buff of some sort. All right,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
no, it does remain with the Luke ping. Of course, he can take it out, and this is kind of a shack sort of situation because that ship will deal 2 damage to base even if it is killed. So a sentinel is no good here. Uh this would not be possible to come back from, right? Can't
yeah, I
see
think it's
that
probably
there's a
scoop
scoop.
time, and they
Yeah,
agree. Yep.
yeah,
So the Qui-Gon strategy, trying to think through how a Qui-Gon gets through one of these games, you're probably looking for a blue ace initially
yeah.
to try to contend whatever the first turn play is. From there, we're looking for additional space ambushers. Sorry, not blue ace to start with, fireball to start
Fireball,
turn one,
fireball, yes.
and then blue
That'd be the
ace
one.
into subsequent turns. Right. I think that's probably
Right.
Qui-Gon's best route. You can ambush those ships in, bounce them back to your hand, play something else, continue with the ambush strategy, and keep Luke off of being able to pilot onto a ship.
Yeah. If he's aware of and have built this deck for this pilot meta, he might be able to bring more space ambush in. He might not be running fireballs and blue aces in the main deck. He was running the blue leader apparently. So just putting some more space ambush in now could be something that is done. Still, you kind of need to have enough force units to actually do your thing as well. The main strategy of the deck is to be able to play and replay units. And in this game, Qui-Gon got stuck playing events, quite expensive events, to bounce things instead. That's not,
Sideboard. So we could
yeah,
see some good tools coming in to help out. We can't see what they are, but fanning out 7 cards to bring in, pulling out 7 cards. There's a plan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That would it would surprise me if that is not 3 fireballs and 3 blue aces coming in.
Mhm. Yeah, I
If
don't
you
know
have,
what on the top end. Perhaps you could be bringing in like a Tantive 4, more
yeah,
space sentinel. I have seen a little bit of that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, I guess we'll find out since we're not seeing it face up.
Right. Right. Uh, and you know, having a consular out early will still help a lot. Be able to play a little bit above curve wouldn't be bad for him.
Yeah, we already saw the Space Sentinel, the larger green Space Sentinel, right? If
Mm,
you could counselor into something like that, could definitely be helpful just to slow Luke down and prepare you for some of these other
yeah.
later game plays.
Yeah. Yeah. As you can see on screen, tentative 4, the white one that creates a X-Wing token as well as an option at 7 point. Of course, you got Liberty at 8, I think.
Yep.
Or is it? Yeah. And then we did see the Cruiser, which I believe is a 5 or 6 cost. So there are some good options. It's a 5 cost even. Yeah. So there are some good options for Space Sentinels here, just to
Well,
slow
we've made
things
our
down.
choices. We've shuffled in the sideboard. Looks like the Luke player is ready to go. I didn't see much change from the Luke side. It looked like maybe one or two sideboard cards. Feeling pretty confident into that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I doubt that Luke has much of a sideboard plan for Qui-Gon Green.
That's right.
It it feels like one of the ones you should be able to take care of on your main deck.
Yeah. The one that I could see, I think most are main decking it now, but if he wasn't already like an air superiority just to shoot down a counselor start. But
Yeah. I
aside from that, you're right. I think the sideboard plan is probably not necessary.
we did see him discard one as priority for from that Ahsoka play, so he is definitely running at least one in main deck, and it'd be surprising if he weren't running all three, right?
Yeah, totally agree. Well, I see a Chewbacca in that opening hand. I'm trying to think if Luke went ship into Chewbacca,
Hmm.
what's the punish? I think that would be very difficult for Qui-Gon to deal with. We don't have tree remembers. As
Yeah,
you
no,
mentioned, most of the bounce doesn't work.
on
I guess
Chewie,
Chewbacca
no,
doesn't work at all. Yeah.
yeah, on Chewbacca it doesn't work at all, and I think the only way to handle it is through actually hurting it with damage.
Mhm.
Because I don't believe he's got any upgrade hate in yellow green, right?
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely a frightening start, and I can see the black one and the Chewbacca in hand. So if Luke decides to go for it here, I think Qui-Gon's going to be very challenged by that start.
Yeah, that's just a power start that will just keep ripping for quite a few turns before he can do much about it. He could be running Haymaker, so if he can get something big out and then Haymaker from it, that's the thing. And also, of course, Blue Leader. So this is, yeah, he did bring in
Excellent.
some fireballs. This is the main strategy though, to just keep him off having actual ships to put Chewbacca on. That
Yep.
that is a very good strategy, probably. And now he can't play Chewbacca on curve here, so he looks like he even resourced it and
Yep.
keeping that
Yeah, I
Luke
think it went
pilot
away.
instead. Yeah, and keeping the Luke pilot instead. And it does make sense because Luke pilot sort of is as obnoxious to get rid of, but it's not as much of a blowout when you do, since it sort of stays. This though is not a very optimal play from the Luke player because there are quite a few things, yeah, exactly, that the Qui-Gon player is just perfectly happy to do here to keep him off. A 3-3, almost everything can trade with the 3-3 in space right now.
Yeah, I'm getting just a peek at the Qui-Gon's hand, and I think I saw two of the 4-1 space ambushers in their hand too. So
Yeah.
I think if Luke continues to try to go to space, we're just going to see a repeat here of ambush kill for a few turns.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think that's definitely the path to victory for the Qui-Gon get deck. The longer this goes, the more it favors the Qui-Gon deck because if he can get to start bouncing a Yoda back and forth, well, then it's sort of really a space unit online in Sabine's masterpiece here. And now he is in a much better state because Qui-Gon needs to take care of both of these units. The unit he's got online now, as well as the unit he's playing down, in order to prevent Luke from having something to flip onto. So And he's going wide here. He's playing the 2-drop, the Phoenix Squadron, and then probably he's got a 3-drop ready to go. Bouncing it, spent the force on doing that. Gets to rip a card, of course, ripping the masterpiece, and he can now play a 3-cost. He doesn't have it though. He's used. Oh, he does in Luke Pilot, but that's not probably not what he wants to do. Oh, he's doing it anyway.
Mhm.
Why?
Well, maybe you just know better at play. I couldn't see the other card in hand when he was
I
flashing it down. It was
I'd
quickly.
even. Yeah, I guess he might not have a Cinta or anything in the line anyway, so that might make sense.
Well, Luke can always be threatening on the ground too. Obviously, much more of a threat, especially on a fighter. The way this
Yeah,
game's going, though, we could just see a Luke flip to ground
yeah,
situation,
yeah,
especially
yeah.
if we need to kill a unit that we don't want Qui-Gon to bounce.
But that's again putting Luke on the ground. If Ahsoka trades into it, then he kills it with the Luke ping, with the Luke 3 ping. So that would get rid of the Ahsoka, immediately answer it. Now, yeah, Blue Ace can take care of this. Well, not immediately, right? Oh no, it's only 2 health from the Luke unit, right? It's not 3 health. And he
He
gets the
chooses not to put Luke on ground again, either forgetting or choosing not to. I think to your point, it is a May, so I guess
yeah,
that Luke pilot could be on the ground right now. We're definitely
it
seeing
certainly could.
that sideboard coming in here. All of
Hmm.
these ambushers.
Yeah, yeah. And he is flipping onto the Aether Sprite here. He has nothing in the row to put on. The Luke Data Vault decks don't always play Sudden Ferocity. They do play the full complement of Synthas, obviously, but they're not always going for a 3 of the Sudden Ferocities.
Well, Qui-Gon here, obviously head on the race with the, we're going to
Mm,
bounce. Excellent.
mm.
We're going to run in 4 damage. Now, I think I did see 2 of these in his hand, so it's possible he can run another 4. It's not going to be enough to take care of Luke on its own, though, right?
Now, Luke is at 10 health here, right?
Yep.
9 health.
Yep.
5
So
plus
one
4.
short.
Yeah.
Eager escort fighter. So if he still has
Yeah.
it, he has another one, but we're going to be 1 damage short of being able to take care of this Luke. Combat damage is going to be the only way to handle it. Otherwise, Luke could potentially race Qui-Gon by himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the power of the Luke decks. They are interacting kind of incidentally through the ping, and they're just hitting really hard. And being a 8-9 unit just by flipping onto the Aegis Sprite, with Saboteur, mind you, it is quite nasty.
Yeah, so even if we did see, say, a Liberty or one of
Mm.
these Sentinels that we saw to the Qui-Gon, it would be of no matter, right? We can run right through it. Though Liberty
Well, I
can
mean,
tap down.
yeah, exactly. The tap down ability on the Liberty is quite important, of course. So we do see a Kelleran Beck here, and Kelleran is definitely the sort of unit that Qui-Gon is looking to bounce back and forth just to get a lot of free units onto the board. So we get
Okay, the Rebo band.
the Rebo band is good here. Just getting some credits rolling. I
And
doubt that.
right now, if we can spread the board, right? If we can get a lot of units on the board, to your point earlier, if we can get to a Yoda, the amount
Mm,
of damage Yoda can do when played with a heal, we'll be able to take care of Luke up in space.
mhm. And I think this might be a sideboard card from the Luke player. Some of them do run Queen in main deck, but Queen Amidala with 2 spies here is actually very good to be able to contest the ground a little bit and just get a lot of power to start smacking base with as well.
So if you're the Qui-Gon player, we're going into
Mm,
8 resources. Do you attack here or do you potentially claim? So this tells me he probably doesn't have Yoda in hand. Oh, he's going to go with the Sentinel. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I was
This is
thinking if he
very
had
good.
Yoda in hand, perhaps he would claim and just Yoda immediately. But being able to
Yeah,
put a blocker in front of Luke is just as good. Although
yeah,
we do
yeah, yeah.
we have Saboteur though, so it's not really a blocker.
No, no, doesn't do anything really, but it can trade. Uh, the 4-1 ambusher.
Yeah, eager escort could clean up.
Eager escort, yes, that's the one. But he was ahead a little, and now he's not. Given the disparity in base health, he's the Luke player is now caught up.
Yeah, Luke just doing so much damage. Such a huge threat. It's always
Mhm.
going to be a problem. So the
Yeah,
Max Rebo band, let's see, did he grab himself a credit during the regroup phase? I don't
I
see one
didn't
down
see
on the
one.
board.
Yeah, no, I don't. And I think with playing the Space Sentinel, he might have forgot that Aegis Sprite is Saboteur. Because he might have had better options if he would have remembered that. But now playing a Yoda and then bouncing it for another Kelleran is a really nice play here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to help you with the race. If you're able to bounce
Mm.
Yodas, it gets a little out of control where you can just heal 5 over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're bouncing them into Kellerans that would just keep filling up your board, it really gets stupid fast.
All right. So I think, as expected, Luke's just going to go straight to base here and
Hmm.
decide where we're going to put the damage.
Yeah, and putting 3 on Qui-Gon here makes a lot of sense, making it a little bit harder to trade with Qui-Gon. 16 damage, so well over halfway there. And Queen is just almost certainly going to get 5 more, taking us to 21. And then he is presenting lethal with Luke. So he needs to be able to take care of Luke this turn and take care of Queen. It's
Yeah, I think we're getting into a must Yoda situation, either
yeah,
this turn or next turn at the very longest. If we don't draw into a Yoda, I think
right.
Qui-Gon's days are numbered.
Yeah, no, Yoda here is absolutely so important. He does seem to have a fireball in hand, which could quite cheaply add that last little bit of health that he needs to put on the Luke ship. He's counting up his resources here. I mean, even if he's trading out for Luke and somehow managing to get rid of Queen. He's playing something big. Yoda, come on. It's got to be Yoda. No. All right. So
Oh,
this is quite interesting because now he can
mhm.
capture Queen. So this is very good. And he
Yeah,
will unfortunately not be able to trade the Luke unit now unless he's bouncing Max Rebo for the he can bounce Rebo for the Thunderbird.
yep, for the firebolt, and we can run them both in. And
Bad sequencing there. He should have obviously hit base with Max Rebo band before he bounced.
they're bouncing
Yep.
the Rebo band to get out the fireball, right? As the Luke player, you probably don't play against a lot of Qui-Gon, so you're not thinking, hey, there's something else going to come down here to clean up my Luke.
No, no, exactly. And also the Mandalorian here was exactly what the Doctor ordered. It was perfect for the task. Mandalorian is a really good include in this stack. I think it can do a lot of work here.
Yeah, Yellow Heroism generally got a lot of great tools this set, so we're going to see a
Mm,
lot more of it between the Mandalorian. We're seeing the resurgence of the Qui-Gon unit itself,
hmm.
and then of course the Liberty
Liberty.
ship just
Yeah,
showing up everywhere.
yeah, absolutely. We're going to 24 here on the Luke base, so not that far off. He needs 13 more, and 4 of those are going to come from Qui-Gon unless the Luke player can do something about it. And
Oof,
just
a
present
claim.
claim after just presenting one measly little Phoenix Squadron, that is not good. I think then you might just as well scoop.
Yeah, at this point, I think the Qui-Gon player is going to be able to build up enough threat on the board to just end this game. I mean, we've already got
Yeah.
presented lethal between the 2 units next turn, but
Mm.
yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
got to
yeah.
be an answer for this ship. Meaning Luke has nothing going next turn. And
No.
what else in that hand that a claim was required? There's 4 other
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah, I mean, he might be counting out how close you can get to lethal with a aggressive negotiations maybe. And now
Yeah.
he's bouncing the bouncy ship and replaying out. Oh, ripping a card with Ahsoka here. That's very good. Oh, they hate that ship. It's a good. It's a good card.
Yeah, I think this turn and the previous turn, the Luke player was trying to set up, a pump for the win,
Mhm.
but being
Yeah,
only able to present one threat for that pump to key off of both times, gave
yeah,
Qui Gon an opportunity to answer that one threat. So I think at this point, Luke's going to have multiple threats to try to sneak the win with that pump. It's probably too late because of what's on board, but
yeah. And he's only at 16, so he's got to do 12 damage out of nowhere with the Luke yellow decks maybe because they can, you know, they can stand their units up, but Luke Green doesn't have that kind of tools, right?
yeah, gone are the days of the Spark Millennium Falcon type situation where a unit's going to come
Yeah,
out.
think this game at all. They need to be able to clear the board of ships before flip turn. Make it so that Luke can't really flip onto anything, and that's what he managed to do um, quite successfully. And the Luke play kind of helped him with that as well by playing pilots onto his own ships.
Yeah. Yes. The Chewie would have just ran away with the game. So
I
Luke obviously had a huge advantage to have initiative this game.
I think that was the other way around though, right? Because if the Luke player is on play, then you can just ambush the fireball right away if you have it in your.
No, no, no. If it's the Luke's going first, you play black one. Oh, you're right. And then fireball, yeah,
Mm,
ambush. I'm
mm.
sorry. I take that back. Yep.
Doesn't really matter for the Qui-Gon play with the fireball available. It's with the blue one that you need to be going first. Oh,
Yep.
sorry, blue leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not no neither player making changes. The Qui-Gon player obviously happy with the massive sideboard addition. To your point, I assume it was at least blue ace, probably the
Mm,
fireballs too, since we didn't see him game one. So that worked out.
yeah. 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 And then you keep the blue leaders, and between that you have ambush units for 2, 3, and 4, and then he's got eager escort fighters as well. So he's got quite a few ambushes on 3 actually.
Yeah,
And,
obviously the Qui-Gon player thinking of how can I beat space with this deck, really bringing in I mean, that's a lot of ambushers, more than I've seen
mm,
typically brought in addition to kind of the interesting sentinels on top. So the
yeah,
game plan is set.
yeah, for sure. Uh, and we didn't see any extra sideboarding here from the Luke players, so he is not sideboarding in any credit hate. Some of these Luke's decks do run Arven's scheme.
Mhm.
It can be quite effective since that ping can actually burn base. It can be a way to get you there in the late game, just a little bit of extra reach. So that is the B wing, I believe. The
No, I
no.
think it's the Caverns X-Wing. This is the 2-1 that when defeated does 2 to
Oh,
base.
yeah, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, this is one that I go back and forth on in my Luke decks if I want to play, right? It's kind of an unplayable card against Talzin or,
Mm,
decks that are able to execute a ping. So I haven't been
mhm,
very excited about it, but getting that extra reach of damage, can be pretty helpful against some decks.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. In a way, that was sort of the nail in the coffin in the first game, playing out one of those.
All right. Well, the Youngling Padawan is a good start for Qui-Gon. Being able to be on the Force right away
Yeah,
does open some options here.
for sure. I'm gonna get the Luke ability online at least this time. Hitting base for 2.
And I can't see Qui-Gon's hand, but I saw half of it there, and I did not see the complement of space ambushers he had last game. Though maybe
Nope.
that top card is a blue leader. I can see just the corner of it. Looks
Yeah.
looks like blue to me.
Makes a lot of sense to keep waiting to see what is played out here, but instead he is just ambushing in. All right. Because Luke will be able to kill this with the ping before it gets to do anything else. So I'd probably.
Might have had a better target you want to run into. You can
Mm,
attack with the
mm,
Padawan to dirtle a little bit. Though I'm a
huh. with initiative on the Qui-Gon side, so quite a big chance of just an ambush coming right away. And if that is
Yes.
a blue ace, it stays on.
Yeah, or if it's fireball, that opens you to having two more resources to play an additional play this turn. So we got the fireball.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
is the case.
preferred, right? Because if Qui-Gon has a
Kind
follow-up
of.
play with the rest of his resources, that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get that is the 4/4 is
Mhm,
Saboteur K-Wing, or is it the
mhm.
4/4 that pings when played? Uh,
It has a win played, so this was the ping unit, right? This is the one we're
it's the
seeing a
ping.
lot of with I hate
Mm,
that ship,
mm, yeah.
being pretty obnoxious.
Yep.
Okay. And then coming into these four drop ships has been important for Luke in a number of ways. I mean, I know we're not playing against blue here, so
Him put a pilot on that unit into fighting it. So
yeah,
this
a
is
little
going to
bit later
present a
in the
problem.
game, but yeah,
Yeah.
huge challenge for Qui-Gon. I don't see a good way for him to deal with the okay, what is this card? This card's jackpot, right? I haven't actually
Right.
seen this in constructed play yet, but I like it,
No,
right?
me neither. uh, it feels like, but the problem here is he can play out Liberty here and tap down the Shui on the B wing, I think it's called, and then he gets Luke on the Phoenix Squadron instead to contend with,
Yeah.
which will just take Liberty right out, more than 7. So there is a world where you tap down the Phoenix Squadron instead. That is not.
Oh.
That is
No,
home one.
this is
That is
the
home one.
ambushing home one. Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
7/8 ambusher, right? So that is a
that
way
is
that you can kill
perfect.
Chewie.
Yeah, that's perfect, and it survives as well. I think that's a 7/8. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that it would have cost less if he had 3 ships. He only had 2, so
Mm,
we don't have
mm,
a cost less effect, but Luke will be able to shoot it down though without taking damage back. So now
mm.
Luke is the problem presenting,
Yep.
2-turn lethal following.
Yep. Yep. Kind of the same problem, because Luke
Yeah.
will not only just hit base, it will also kill home one while doing it.
Yeah, because this home one is not a sentinel, right?
No.
So
Yeah.
you're
No.
right. Luke's gonna be able to just, oh, okay. And we're really pushing hard here with an attack run.
Oh, yeah. The trench run coming in, discard 2 cards. This is risky against the Qui-Gon deck, though, because Qui-Gon decks run apparently all the way up to 9 from 2. So he could take anything up to 7 damage or so onto Luke here. It is absolutely perfectly possible. And we have not flipped anything. You need that's an on attack, right? So there's no damage to base if the unit is killed.
Yeah, what do we I think it's still sitting on the board, so maybe we're still talking about it. We still need to
Yeah,
resolve the
here we
attack
go.
run. Here we go.
So 4 and 6. So he's taking 2. That's not
Okay.
that's not ideal.
That does put Luke down to only 5 HP total since he flipped onto a smaller ship.
Mm,
I like the attack run more as a finisher. I mean, that does leave
yeah,
Luke vulnerable to some of these.
yeah. He had to claim. Of course, there are a number of ways he could answer Luke here. Uh, all the all the Sentinels are good here.
Yoda in this list, but both games we've kind of said, hey, Yoda would be great here. So maybe we'll
Yeah,
find out.
Yoda really would be great here, but it would only do 4 damage, so he'd be 1 short of killing Luke.
Mhm.
But he would heal, but not enough, I don't think. Because that's how much damage is that? 3
I'd
plus.
put you down to 17. You'd be 11 away. Between the two units, it would still be
Yeah,
lethal.
yeah, still lethal. So Yoda is not. Well, Yoda could kill Poe, right? How much HP has Poe got? No, he's got 5 as
No,
well.
5. Yeah.
5.
No,
So
can't
he's
kill
one
Poe.
off. Yeah, Yoda is no good here. He needs something else. He probably needs Liberty here. Can he play Liberty? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Anything you could pull that would
What
help
3
here.
cost could do anything here? He's got no other resources open.
I think we're going to put the cards down and fist bump it. Yep. So
Yeah,
3
yeah.
damage in.
Yeah,
There we
3
go.
damage doesn't change anything. All right. Well, good game. That third game was very much more one-sided than the second game was. And even the first game felt slightly more contested than this one did.
Well, I was excited that we got 3 games at all, right? I really
Yeah.
thought there was a good chance of just being a 2-game sweep here, but Qui-Gon obviously had quite a bit of tools to bring in from the sideboard to make that a lot more competitive. So it was fun to see Qui-Gon get one there.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said initially, I think the Qui-Gon deck is very sort of inconsistent. It can do a lot of cool stuff and it's probably very fun to play, but it ultimately it needs to see all the right cards in the right order to be able to do much of anything really.
Yeah, my most fun I've had with Qui-Gon would be Twin Sons with Avar, guaranteeing me the Force and then doing all kinds of shenanigans.
Yeah,
But in
yeah.
constructed play, can't say I've had as much success playing him. More of
Hmm.
a fun style.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we are going to take a little bit of a break. We just want to push before we do these nice tokens that you can see being used for damage and whatnot here are all premier tokens, and in the description of the videos you can see a link for it. They are the sponsors of the video, so please do check them out and see if you want to buy. There might be like a code or something if you want discounts, maybe. Well, with that, we take a little bit of a break and we'll be back shortly.
I'm here.
Oh, hi, man.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Nice.
Or no, Lando green, I think. Aldani Garrison, that's green. The green splash base.
Oh, cool. Yeah. More janky.
It'll be fun.
I hope it's the Sparrowhawk version. Those are really fun.
Alright, Tower, you gonna be good for... We got 3 more rounds, you're gonna be good for that.
Yeah, I'm just plugged to all three. I don't know if anybody else wants to come in or whatever.
I think we had anyone else sign up, so...
Okay.
Right. See you in then.
Alright, looks like they're sitting down, so...
Are we commentating from here, or are we doing the video ninja thing, or what?
oh yeah, video. It's in, just scroll up a bit, it should be in the main version.
We're doing our audio is doing from Discord, but just
Are we doing video?
No.
No.
Great.
All right. And I'm gonna bring us in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're on.
Today.
Oh, I'm doing well, Victor. Happy to be doing some streaming here, and it looks like we're gonna have a matchup between a Lando green and a Talzin red for this round.
Yeah, that is Micah Overley from the Late Night Gaming crew on Talzin Red, I believe. And we have a local from, well, kind of local from Illinois, Jason on the green splash base with Lando. Are you familiar at all with the green version of Lando?
You know, I think I think I've seen some of it, but the more common Lando that I've encountered is the Vigilance version of the build. However,
sure.
Command has some cool plays as well. We're seeing a Mina Terry early, very strong
Mhm.
early game unit for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost as strong as the carries that the red Talzin played. And
And
that
I
is a
believe that
prestige.
is that a prestige Obi-Wan Kenobi? Is that what that is?
It could be. I am very bad with the prestige cards, so I would not be able to tell for sure. But
Yeah, or some
this,
kind of promo, but I believe it's
yeah,
Obi-Wan.
yeah, I think so. It seems to be Sentinel here, so he hits it for 2. And unfortunately for the Talzin player, it is not hitting back for more than 3, so Karis actually lives and can't do her ability.
Yeah, and it looks like it may be kind of a weaker turn for Talzin here.
Mm.
We're seeing, the Triss Acolyte there, a
Yep.
2-cost 2/4, not really what you want to be playing on the second turn of the game.
No, absolutely. And none of that famous early board control that Talcin is so good at has been materializing yet. And now this is really cool because attacking into carries like this, you're kind of posting a question. Do you want to use the ability right away to diminish and kill Mina or Ubi? And he is going
Yeah,
to
you could.
kill Nina.
Looks like
Also, Jason gets to hit for 3 to base, and he is ahead on the base race at this point. Still hasn't created any credit tokens yet.
yeah, that's a good point. Now, also we could have seen the Talzin player Micah here actually take out that Obi-Wan. The Triss Acolyte could have swung into it and then used Talzin's ability. Lando's ability used for the first time discards Liberty, which is probably not what you want to see. That card is one of your best closers, but
Yep.
he did call either Cunning or Heroism, so there is a credit.
Yep. And now he is slowly taking over that board with the ambushing Turnus there, but coming right back with a Sentinel, an even better Sentinel in Typho. So it looks like Lando not only ahead on the base race, but also keeping the tide of damage kind of very much under control. Going into flip turn for Tyson.
Yeah, all 3 units that we've seen here from Lando can be very good at sort of delaying the enemy. But now Talzin's Assassin is hitting the field and debuffing Typho down to a 2/3.
I believe 1-3 even, right?
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. 1/3.
1-2, 1-2.
1/2.
Yeah, so not as much of a security as you would have thought, but
Yeah.
being
I
able
was
to
thinking
take out.
-2.
Yeah, able to take out the Traitor's Acolyte, leaving Turnus to just trade into Typho, and still having enough credits No, yeah, no, that's the reveal. I got a little bit surprised that he could play something else there, but he couldn't,
Yeah, it was just the
obviously.
disclose heal there,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
So
yeah. Micah to trade here. Taking 4 back on Talzin isn't. No, he's going to base here instead.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's interesting.
He leaves the decision of the trade to Jason instead, because obviously Jason is going to trade that into something.
Yeah, so if I were Jason, I would probably, yeah, I mean, I would probably just trade it for Talzin's assassin at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, seeing how it has slightly more health than Turnus anyway, and Turnus being a unique also, that
Right.
makes sense. Yeah, and that is exactly what he's doing.
Yep,
Still
and
no
that,
credits. No credits.
I thought he had, maybe he spent it
Or is
earlier.
that a credit token next to the base? I think that is the initiative, right?
Yeah, I do see a credit token off to the left side. Maybe he spent it earlier. I knew that he discarded that Liberty, and I believe he made
Yeah.
a credit at that time. But I guess he must have spent it because now he's going
Yeah.
back to 1.
Yep. That is it. And this is flip turn for Lando, so he definitely needs one. But he's not going to be able to play anything too big since he had to use 1 to create that credit token. So he's
Ventress
delaying
appears and buffs Talzin, giving her +2/+2.
enough to
Obi-Wan
take out
Kenobi.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Lando flipping, and he's got 5 with is that 3 open resources and 3 credits maybe. So he could play something for 6 perhaps.
No, I think he has 2 open resources because he played Obi-Wan for 3, and then he used 1 on the make a credit ability. So he has
You're
2
right.
real resources and 3 credits.
That is
And
absolutely
this is
right.
the command version, so we're not going to be seeing, we're probably not going to be seeing Bo-Katan make an appearance, but I actually just realized that
I
this
think
is
that's
a
probably the
splash
splash.
base.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so we could
probably the
well see
splash.
Bo-Katan anyway.
I imagine that's one of the cards that you splash. You might splash up to something like 5 or even 6 cards in a deck like this. So I
Yeah, and
would not.
Bo-Katan is a pretty good closer.
Isn't
So
she?
now we're going to see 1 credit and the 2 resources spent for something that costs 3. It looks like it's going to be the Millennium Falcon, and this is, I believe, the new
Yep. It's the
command heroism
green
Falcon.
yellow hero.
Yeah. Or that's right. Yeah. Command cunning heroism. And
Yeah.
so this one has the ability to debuff a space unit and buff a ground.
I believe that's the Bo-Katan. There she is. Killing quite a bit of the board there for the Talzin player and getting no less than 2, I think.
Yeah, it should be 2 experience. Now
For 2 at this point. And that is
I believe it's the
sun.
sun.
The sun, yeah. And she does have the force, so she would be +2, and now she can deal with Lando. So using right?
Let's see here. So the sun is, so the sun is essentially right now an 8/8. I think you
Oh,
no,
so
but
he
he
can't.
can't trade for that.
He
Yeah,
can,
he doesn't
he
have enough
can.
power. He can take out Talzin.
He does, but he's buffed an additional 2 from the Falcon, so he could have traded with the
Oh
sun.
yeah,
But
that's right. Yeah, because he
but
had
he chose to take
the
out
Falcon buff
Talzin
and the
instead.
experience. But
Yeah.
now he can give out another experience with Bo-Katan, and now she can potentially clear the sun.
Yep.
But
That sequencing makes sense.
this this base HP total.
Yeah, that's the shadow. No, that's in aspect. That's blue. It's the shadow point
that's right.
from the event exclusive one.
The Mother Talzin prestige card is so not blue looking that I thought he didn't actually have a blue aspect. Obi-Wan Kenobi just running into the sun's way. Now we see a constructed lightsaber. The sun. This is very, very dangerous. Actually, now
he's a sentinel now.
One attack from that constructed lightsaber would actually win the game. So all he has to do now is claim and then
Yeah.
swing once Obi-Wan loses Sentinel, unless there's another Sentinel on Lando's side, but it looks like there isn't.
Nope. This would be game then. Jam Communications will do nothing here to
Yep.
change that fact.
Yep. And Obi-Wan's ability used creates a credit, but
This is to no avail.
unless Micah misplays this, he has the game.
Yeah.
And he does not.
No. it that would have surprised me even more. Micah Overlay is well too accomplished a player to miss that.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so this is a Talzin deck, Vigilance, Aggression, Villainy versus the Lando deck, Command, Cunning, Heroism, but Lando is playing the splash base as we saw with that Bo-Katan. However, even that really powerful early play was not enough to win this game for Jason on Lando. So
It looked so well at that point. He was sort of, it looked like he was turning the corner, but Jason wasn't able to capitalize on that, and Micah was still able to grind it out.
yeah, and it's interesting. I think you had identified a situation where Lando could potentially trade there for the sun. I think I'm actually not. I think I agree with you that that might have been better, but I wonder if, given what we saw afterwards with the Shatterpoint to clear Bo-Katan and then the constructed lightsaber, I wonder if Talzin might also have been able to close out the game.
Yeah. In the end, I don't think it really mattered. With that Shatterpoint online, he probably would have been able to still handle the thing.
Well, we're going to see what happens here as they move on to the second game. The players are making their sideboard decisions. Do you
Looks
have any
like,
thoughts on what you would be sideboarding in this matchup?
I think Talzin is probably sideboarding in Arven Skeen. And we see him removing something there. It looks like he removed Marin and maybe one of the Asashes. It was a red card at least that looked like it had a female picture on it. And just putting in big things or removal or Arven Skeen. That Arvel Skeen. That's my guess. But then on the Lando side, I wouldn't even begin to understand what he could be doing here.
Yeah, I think one thing that we might see, because I don't know if we're going to see some of the same space stuff, simply because Talzin tends to have very little space, sometimes actually zero. I think,
Yeah.
if I recall correctly, at one point in the Milwaukee regional at the end of the last set, we were actually casting a match where neither deck had any space units, which is, kind of unusual,
Yeah.
but it is something that we see sometimes, especially with these decks that are really focused on the Force, because aside from that one version of Leia, there are no space units that can get you the Force token. So if you have a base that is one of those Force bases, and your strategy is to get the Force token and use it, space units might not necessarily be what you want. And some Force decks, of course, are still playing space units, especially ones that are effective against enemy space units. But
Right.
others are just thinking, oh, I'll just use removal that can hit across arenas, and I'll play to the ground to try and really maximize my Force use.
Yeah. No, a lot of the Force decks have been looking at various kinds of that strategy, and even things like the Han 2 ECL decks last set sometimes ran none or very few space units, and just kind of doing the ignore the space because my ground is just still faster than your space.
Yeah, or you might be playing like blue leader only in that deck, where it's like, well, this card's really good. It helps against space, but otherwise, this is just not my game plan, and I can still bring it in for 5 to the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, it's Mina Bonteri against Trias Acolyte.
I think that's a way better play. Sorry, way better situation for the Lando player because Trace Acolyte is nowhere near as good as Karis.
Well, we were
And then,
talking earlier about maybe siding out space stuff, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It's another copy of that Millennium Falcon that we saw earlier, but then there's Karis.
Yeah. So just same opening, but reversed order for Micah. Not ideal.
Yeah, once again, Micah seems to have a 2-drop and then another 2-drop.
Yeah, he does have that the pig, the the essentially 7 swing pig.
Oh, moral authority on the Falcon,
Oh,
capturing
nice,
Karis.
nice. Very good answer to Karis. And like we said, there is so few interactions that hits space outside of actual just removal. But we do see in Micah's hand that is a shadow point again, so he will be able to remove that eventually. But
I think, I think a shatter point. The real question is like whether you think it's get my unit back, get rid of that buffed Falcon.
I mean, that's 6 damage to base he saves, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good point because the Falcon would not only have hit Mina, and then Mina also could have cleared one of the ground units. So yeah, I do think that's a good route. Although I
Yeah.
suppose he could have also gone for the Darth Tyrannus ambushing Mina,
Yeah,
which
into me. That would have still worked.
yeah. But this way he gets Karis back,
Mhm.
and it looks like we're gonna see an early claim from Jason rather than swinging with Mina Bonteri.
Yeah,
Let's see what happens. We did see a credit token made there. He discarded a
yeah.
copy of Jin Urso, so let's see what he's gonna do now.
He's playing for 4 a Typho. That's a very good against this board. That is perfect. It's flip turn, but there is the Dark Tyrannus to sort of help with that. Tyrannus will be able to put 4 damage onto Typho, and then you can clear. This is the strength of the Talzin Dax. It's so efficient at dealing with units.
Yeah. And we do see Typho's Disclose being used there to heal for 1, but Talzin's ability indeed clears him out, as you said. Mina swings to the base and heals, and then the ability from Lando being, I think it's heroism.
Wouldn't it be, right? We've only
Yeah, because
seen.
we've seen him in the earlier game. He discarded Liberty, and he made a
Mm,
credit from that, I believe. So I think he's
mm,
calling heroism. We also saw Moral Authority, which is a heroism only card.
yep, yep. Yeah,
Well,
that
the
would make
board has
sense.
gone very far away from the Lando
Yeah.
player's favor, but
This is what we're used to seeing from the tiles index when they are clicking. This is what they try to do.
Lando flips. We're going to get a bunch of credits, and we could potentially see Bo-Katan here or some other really big play, but the Lando player needs some really big plays to get back in this game right now.
Yeah,
Both the board and base HP are very much not in his favor.
right. And Bo-Katan really wouldn't kill anything on the board right now, except for the Turnus unit, which is also
That's right.
probably why Turnus with
Enough threats in the ground arena now that Liberty is not necessarily enough to stem the tide here. It's a much
right,
stronger unit in a situation where the opponent has a lot or has a few powerful units rather than a lot of small units.
right,
Oh, is this going to be
absolutely.
Bo-Katan?
Could very much be. It is,
Yep.
and it is able to deal with only 1 unit really, but it is
Yeah,
debuffing the rest of them quite a lot.
right. So it's not the dream where you're defeating the opponent's whole board, but you are bringing the whole opponent's board to 0 power here.
Yeah.
So still nice. And then Lando is going to be getting the experience token there. I think there's a very good chance we'll see Lando attacking into another one of these units to clear it and then get another experience.
Yep.
Hana swings, does still have raid and restore, so that's going to be 2 damage getting through to the base.
Tapping down, I assume Talzin with
Yeah, I think Talzin's
the
probably the
Liberty.
best target.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
And something big here, the sun.
Ooh,
So
the
these are
sun.
now 1 powered units.
Yeah.
uh, I guess you take one of them out with Lando, right? Kind of have to.
Yeah, I think so. And then if you buff then Bo-Katan, she can swing and defeat the sun while staying alive. But
Yep.
she would then probably be defeated by Talzin's ability, so I guess you would give the experience to her
And he
to
did.
bring her out of
Yeah.
range.
But
There is also an
Talzin,
argument for just claiming there, but
Yeah, no,
not what
Micah
he went for.
wisely just claims instead, and he has no disintegrations in hand. So he has a few options here. I assume that you just swing with the sun immediately, right? Yeah, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah, but there is a bit of an odd situation here because I believe that the Lando player has lethal.
Oh, he
And
does?
yeah, because
11.
not
Yes.
in one hit, but if Bo-Katan and Liberty both hit the base,
Right.
I
Yeah,
think that's lethal here.
it is.
So
It is. And no,
it's
restore
kind of
from honor.
funny.
The uh, so he is trading here,
Oh, but the Lando player is
missing.
maybe worried about an aggressive negotiations or
Yeah.
something, going to be
Yeah.
clearing up the board instead. Hana swings base, I believe, for 5, and Hana is
Yeah.
actually lethal. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a bit of a gaff there. I think
Yeah.
if you swing with Liberty to the
Yeah.
base and exhaust Hana, you're actually in a winning position as Lando there.
Exactly. Because then the restore is offline and Talzin isn't able to
Yeah,
win.
and of course the Talzin player could still win it, if we had like a
Yeah.
shatter point to kill Bo-Katan next
hmm
action. I
Or
mean, Lando would
or
still
like you
have 6
said,
damage. Would that have been enough?
I'm gonna unmute.
yeah.
I
Also
think
aggressive negotiation.
Sun was
Aggressive.
buffing Talzin, so Talzin was lethal by herself.
Oh yeah, Sun was still
Oh
on the
yeah,
board,
that's
so
a
that would have
very
been
good point.
lethal. The
Yeah, yeah.
Sun made Talzin lethal in and of
Right. So
herself.
you couldn't have exhausted all the threats. Yeah, yeah, very
No,
good.
no. That's what we missed there. So very well played by Mika, as always. And I kind of think that this Lando green deck is more of a meme deck than the Lando blue one. So maybe not too surprising that Talzin took it.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like if you think about what command is getting you, if you're thinking, okay, the splash base is enough to bring out Bo-Katan, and then I can play the green early units to try and stall the opponent more. The thing is though, Talzin is just so efficient at getting control of the board early
Yeah.
that even though we were seeing some of those really efficient early command units,
Mm,
we saw, I believe, Blue Leader in the previous game. We
mm.
saw Captain Typho in both games, but Talzin was
Yeah.
just able to get through them.
Yeah. True. Uh, yeah, and it's a little bit of a debate there which color is actually better at stalling, blue or green. And at this point,
Yeah.
it's kind of a wash.
Yeah, it's funny. Stalling is not necessarily the thing that you most want to be best at. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm trying to think over that end game. I wonder if it would have been yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if it would have been advantageous for the Lando player to take the initiative instead of clearing one of the small units with Lando.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
I'm not sure. We'd have to know what cards were in hand and so on. Looks like our our Talzin player is opening up. I think that might be the victory pack.
Yeah, yeah, probably is. They might just be on a where they get a pack for each win at this point, I think.
Pack per
We
win. That's a classic tournament prizing format.
Yeah, isn't it? I love that. I think there is probably not why they're playing because there's also obviously the Fear and
Fear
Dead
and Dead
Man
Man, Matt.
playmat. Yeah, in the mix as well. We have a quite small field today. Something like 14 players did show up for the Sunday event, so you have a pretty good shot at getting that mat.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's a cool
I understand that is mainly a miniatures convention, right?
yeah, that's right. I think it actually started as a really big Warhammer 40,000 tournament.
All right.
And it's slowly expanded so that there's like a vendor hall and there are more like side events and tournaments for other games and stuff now. But it's
Yeah.
kind of in between, I would say, like a big tournament and a convention thing. It's not as if you're going
It's
to,
not Gen Con.
Gen Con or
No,
SN
yeah.
or something like that.
No, right.
It's much more tournament than convention focused. But
hmm
I have been there. Actually, I was playing the Star Wars Legion miniatures game a few years
Oh,
ago
oh,
and
nice.
played in their event there. And yeah, it was fun, and for someone I think especially who's interested in the miniatures hobby, Adepticon can be a very cool event. I remember walking around the vendor hall and seeing Victoria Lamb, a miniatures sculptor whose work I've admired
Yep.
for some time, and talking to her for a bit. So, I think I think it's a very cool event, and it's interesting to see Star Wars Unlimited making a presence at the convention there as well.
I mean, if FFG is already there presenting
Yeah.
some of their, well, I guess that's not really FFG, is it though, any longer? They
Yeah, Star
are
Wars
all
Legion has been moved to Atomic Mass Games.
right, right, but they're all Esmodee, so I
True.
guess in a sense there is a presence there. Why not bring the card game as well? If you
Yeah,
have
and
a big gaming event.
I think when I was there for Legion also, I believe they had done I believe they were doing some Keyforge events at that time.
All right, yeah,
So yeah, I think it isn't just it isn't just a miniatures tournament or a miniatures convention, but I do think that's the thing that Adepticon is like strongest at and most known for. However,
right,
that may be changing, and
yeah,
it's kind of a funny situation if they do a tournament like this again next year at Adepticon. I
mhm,
think if they have some cool prize, there might be more people thinking, "Hey, there's not gonna be that many people there. Maybe I should sign up." But
yeah,
then that
yeah.
creates an ironic scenario because if a bunch of people do that, all of a sudden it's not gonna be that small an event.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of funny. I mean, with this kind of pricing, it would be interesting to a lot of people, I bet, because these play mats are just awesome. And yeah, I'd be interested to go there if.
Get knocked out or you're only playing. Yeah, and this is maybe a bit of a controversial opinion from me, but I actually think that the miniatures hobby and the card game hobby are often in a very similar genre of gameplay.
Mhm.
Obviously, miniatures and cards are really different in some ways, and miniatures tend to have that hobby angle to them,
Yeah,
but in terms of modeling and painting. But both miniatures and card games tend to be turn-based strategy games where there is a strong element of army building or deck composition in addition to the gameplay itself. And I think that's actually a substantial crossover.
for sure. Especially with the GV having that underground game, which is basically half and half card game and miniatures game. So I do believe that the crossover is acknowledged even from both sides, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that it's a yeah, I think it's a situation where the both genres can potentially learn from the other somewhat. I know we've seen like the command cards in Star Wars Legion, for instance,
Mhm.
and I enjoy both. I have my eye on there's a StarCraft miniatures game coming out soon. I actually think it premiered at Adepticon, so some people already have some of the miniatures. But maybe you can get like some air support from an X-wing or Tie Fighter or whatever on there, which I think could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting stuff in miniatures.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, you have that sort of customize your squadron or deck component to it as well. So definitely there are skills that cross over as well.
Yeah,
Well,
I do think there are I personally feel like I had some of the same skills that have allowed me to do decently well in competitive events for cards really do cross over with miniatures, like you said. So, both fun tabletop game hobbies.
yeah. Well, we do have a lot of time left in turn, so we might just take a little bit of a break here and join you for round number 3 in, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so.
Yep, sounds good. We will be back soon.
Am I reading this right? But is that the force red base? I think, but
That
it
is,
looks to
yes.
me like he's splashing some yellow cards in there, or am I just seeing that wrong? Yeah,
It
I am.
kind of
That
looks
was
like,
not. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's the
artifact of
yeah,
the camera there,
mhm,
or
yeah,
the sleeves.
yeah, one or the other.
Because that was a constructed lightsaber, I believe we saw
Yeah,
there, and
it was.
it was
Yeah,
very yellow looking to me too. So I see what you
it
saw.
it looked to me like it was a yellow ship of some sort first, but that would have
Oh,
been
yep, yep, I can totally see that.
very, very weird without the splash base.
One of the
For the yellow version is how well it can deal with some of the really strong ground-based decks that we've seen so far. But
100%.
but the Talzin red, I think, has more options, more more versatility.
I could see that. In fact, I generally agree.
When killed ability, we do see a no disintegrations in the hand of our Talzin player.
Yep, that'll be interesting if they get desperate to deal with the N1 to notice integrations on it, but I don't know if they're going to be that desperate.
Feels like too much desperation for me.
Yeah, we see a Talzin's assassin in hand, and I believe that's probably the plan for how to deal with it.
much more reasonable. Also, be able to just kill the red 5 with it together with the Talzin ability.
We have
Seems good to me.
We have a pretty, what I would say, typical start for both of these decks. Like when I saw Loopy play this, he wanted these 2 ships, and when you play Talzin, you want to go Karis into Grand Inquisitor, or that's all I can really think of in terms of force units you want on that turn. So that is we're getting a good example of what these decks can do.
Right. There's no damage on any of these units, so at this point the red 5's on attack is not online.
Yep.
And
but we do see Talzin reduce the red 5's attack.
Yes, because you can't kill it in one. I agree with this play.
I agree too.
You don't want to show your hand just yet because you don't know what's coming down.
And the other part is it's safe to do it because you're probably going to get the force back, so you can then play Talzin's assassin here in a second.
Exactly. So we're paying 3 to do really nice beguile.
At least
very good play for Loopy. But we do have the assassin there. We do have Shatterpoint. We do have emergency powers, which could be very devastating at the wrong end of it. But knowing it's in the hand, it's very important.
Agreed. It's very interesting to see what that hand is too. That's really dangerous for a lot of things Loopy's trying to do.
Yeah. So now we get the force back with Karis. 2 damage to base.
Yeah, and while 4 damage doesn't look that threatening compared to what Enfys is able to put out, because by the end of this turn, Talzin will be at 8. I have a feeling we're going to see the assassin come down and finish off that red 5.
But Loopy, the dice will save it.
Ooh, yeah, that does save it. I believe that's the Stolen Starpath unit.
Yeah.
Since he knows what's in hand, he's going to generate at least 1 spy.
Yeah. I thought it was the lucky dice, but it's definitely.
Oh yeah. I can see it. Yeah, they do look a little similar, don't they? Big cubes and stuff on the art.
Yep. I think this though is a much better play because credits won't do him much good at this point.
True. I also believe that Loopy's intent may have been to draw out the Shatterpoint as opposed to.
He's not dying yet. Is he? Why?
The Shatterpoint will get it because the
Shatterpoint. He played the Shatterpoint instead. Oh yeah. That's sensible.
I believe that threat was to draw out the Shatterpoint, but
yeah.
Maybe I'm misreading it.
No, that's probably correct. There were too many dangerous cards in that hand. Unfortunately for Loopy, those assassins will still be able to do a lot of harm to him. Soon.
This turn especially, as it being the flip turn of Talzin, means that Enfys may just not do, even with the Sudden Ferocity, may just not do that much.
No. But it also means doing it in this sequencing from Loopy is really smart because now he's putting the question to Nicholas: do you want to kill the Naboo fighter, or do you want to shrink the Enfys?
Yep, that's a good question.
And I mean, you always want to put your opponent in difficult decisions, right?
Yeah. And
that's how you make them do the mistakes.
Let's see what plays he's got here. He's got 5 resources open. Yeah, it should be an interesting one because there's a couple of options.
Might be looking to use, exactly.
Yep.
The assassin here. And he is, the Naboo fighter are already attacked, so he is shrinking Enfys, but Enfys is getting stronger with the helmet. I think that was right.
Yes, that makes sense. So Enfys still has 6 health remaining, even through the -3/-3.
Yeah, and he should have spent the force there when he played the assassins. He wouldn't have the force right now.
That may, I mean, you're correct, but it also may not be relevant as soon as the Talzin attacks anyway. So.
But it means that he couldn't first shrink it, then flip, and then shrink it.
That's a good point.
But they are playing as if though he didn't have the force. So
Yeah, they're playing it correctly, it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. He just didn't show it with the token.
Have a 6/9 Enfys Nest, which is a massive threat.
That is something.
Technically, if they just bash each other in the base for this turn, Enfys is threatening, I think, lethal next turn. So
yes,
that'll
it
be
will be. But then I don't think the Naboo fighter is going to live that much longer.
true. Oh, we have an aggressive negotiations though.
And that is.
That appears to be 9 damage.
Yeah.
But that threat there
he
means
can
that
deal with it.
Enfys probably survives.
Yes. So Shatterpoint will be. Because at this point he would have got the force back when he attacked with Talzin last turn. So it's correct. He did have the force there.
Yep.
And he didn't need the force either because
only 2 health, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. What does Loopy do? Does he have a way to keep keep Enfys Nest alive through an assault of what looks to be effectively 10 damage because of Oh, yeah. Maybe even more than that, because Karis can do the -2, then the assassin, then Talzin herself. They can all trade into Enfys, I believe.
Yes, she's at 9 health, but they
Yeah.
can deal more than that with
Yeah, the proper
shrinking.
sequencing can kill Enfys. It's a matter of, can you play another threat that says, well, if I have an aggressive negotiations, I win.
Right, exactly. But he needs 6 more damage, right? No, yeah.
He needs
7
7.
more damage.
Yeah.
Is there 7 damage units that he can play on 6? No, there is not.
Not really. So if he plays like an N1, right? Oh, there's Karis. That's interesting too. I was thinking like, so an option would be an N1 in space, right? Then
trading
that you could do aggressive negotiations, but yeah. Okay,
and
so Karis goes down.
Loopy has already claimed, I guess. No?
I don't believe so. So
he couldn't have. So if he's got red units, can he trigger Karis at this point? It looks like not.
It may not matter because Karis, the force unit Karis attacked into Enfys instead.
Yeah. Shrinking it and dealing 2.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want Loopy to be able to do 2 more damage at this point.
Right. We're running into what do you do territory. That Loopy seems to be asking the questions, and it appears that the Talzin player is able to at least answer a few of the questions, but
yes, it looks like he's taking Enfys off the board here.
Yep, Enfys is going down. So the answer is make Loopy have the aggressive negotiations with Karis Nemec. I'm gonna just call it Nemec from now on. It's a lot easier.
And
Nemec also has hidden. That's a good point too.
Yeah. So does how many cards is he going to be lethal with an aggressive?
If he has, he would need to have 4 cards on top of aggressive negotiations. So I don't know that he has that. But the other thing to think about though is if he does that and then you kill Nemec and you get a spy, that might be lethal.
Exactly. He can't, then he puts Talzin in a very awkward spot. But that's not the case. He's just going in for 3.
I think he's just going to spread the threats and say answer them all.
Yeah, it's very awkward still because can you kill Karis at this point?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess you theoretically could, but should you is the better question.
Yeah. True. Now, do you have any good sentinels now? Sure, it is a possibility.
This is about to get fun.
This is about to get very fun. Loopy's got 6 open resources, and he's still putting it on the assassin. That is a big very ballsy. That's very.
That is also going to be, I think, threatening lethal next turn.
Right.
But I think Loopy has enough actions to be able to play something that says deal with me. Oh, there. Okay, so that's check right there.
Right. Yeah.
And as Talzin,
you have to claim,
so
right?
Close. I think you have to because you have no resources, and a claim from Loopy does end it.
Yes.
Yep, that's what happens. Looks like a claim.
Claim from Nicholas.
Well, he's got his hand on the deck, so my assumption is that means it's a claim. He's
Yeah,
waiting for
yeah.
Loopy to play
No,
the.
he's
Oh,
waiting for
jeez.
Loopy.
Yeah, that
Oh,
looks like double
Loopy's
lethal
just
here.
going, yes, please.
Yep. And
And
it
yeah,
looks like
no,
there's too many
that's the fist
threats.
bump. Yeah,
I love that.
that was such a good game. That was a blast to watch.
That was fun. It was cool to see because Talzin was doing a good job of answering many, if not like obviously not all of the threats, but many of the threats that kept popping up. And for a little while there, it looks like Talzin was starting to turn the corner, but
Yeah.
Loopy just kept playing threat after threat after threat. That
Right.
I love this Enfys deck. It's very aggressive. It's very answer this question. Do you have an answer for it? Okay, cool. Do you have an answer for the next one? How about the next one?
And I mean, that's a very good way to play this game. If you're putting really tough questions to your opponent, you make it on them there, and when they slip up, you win.
100%. And this is one of those where I will probably be taking this Enfys deck out for some fun testing later at some point. I'm going to bother Loopy to get the list. I know he's posted it at least one place, I think.
I think I saw a. Oh no, that must have been the sideboard because I saw some Arvins there. So that was
yeah.
That was probably the Talzin sideboard.
Yep,
And
that makes sense.
you would not be putting Arvin Skeen into the deck at this point, I don't think.
I don't think so either. It's still a sideboard card enough because there is a lot of credit generation going around. However, it's not something that it might be getting to the point where it's a main deckable. Like we were talking about earlier, it's a tough one to gauge because Lando is all around right now. And do you really want to throw the first game to Lando and hope he'd win the next one with Arbol? But
yeah,
we're starting to see those questions.
I think with the stats of Arbol, some decks might really need to consider having maybe 2 in the main deck because
I can see that.
It's a really good stat line.
Yep, it's a good stat line. Plus, when played, ping effect is also fairly solid if they're doing the credit thing that early. So
yeah. No, yeah, for decks that like to ping, and you can ping the base with that. It's actually one of few pings that can really.
That's a good point.
Burn.
I'd actually forgotten about that. Yeah, so I like both of these lists a lot. I think originally when the set came out, I know at least our team and I was pretty much on the Talzin yellow train, but I've started to come around to seeing not only is red still solid, but it's probably my preferred color of the two of them right now as well.
Of course, it's very meta dependent.
Yeah.
The yellow deck can run Chin Flurry with Vader, which is super strong into some decks.
Very devastating combo. But
yeah.
I also just like Talzin. Talzin's fun.
Yeah, no, Talzin's such a good constructed leader. They really built that the right way.
And even without Force Lightning, red is still fun. That's how good that is.
I think we've seen a few leaders that come out the last few sets that have been very well sort of put together. Like they present unique takes on the game. Talzin's one of them. Sabe is definitely one of them. There are
Beckett's another one to talk about
leaders here, which I'd really like. The design team has been knocking out the park.
I agree, and that's a good example. I don't think the leader is like going to carry you to a world championship, but if you can learn how to play the leader, he can be very rewarding, and in the right hands, still carry you to something. Like it rewards player skill very much.
Yeah, I mean, I was in London at the Nexus Invitational, and I think I saw a guy that can pilot that deck.
Yeah, he might have shown up and played there a little bit. Yeah,
he did.
He was all right.
He's all right.
He's not bad. We may hear his name later in the year, right?
It could be the fact. Yeah, no, it's.
Yeah, I don't know that I could tell you. Like, this isn't one of those like. I don't think either of them is particularly favored in the matchup.
No.
It can definitely come down to can Enfys keep asking questions and can Talzin keep answering them.
Exactly.
And sometimes what's interesting and fun about this game is that a resourcing decision may come back to bite you later because of the question being currently answered and you didn't think about the next question that was coming down the line. Or maybe you did and you kept the right thing and it pays off. Like that kind of decision making and player skill reward is something I really enjoy about this game.
Yes, it's the chess nature of this in a way.
Yeah.
Your ability to think ahead. So
All
we're
right. Looks like
waiting
Loopy
for
got a
something
mulligan.
here, just the resourcing. I think Loopy's just
Yep.
gonna
He's
have to
looking at his hand,
resource.
trying to figure out which card he doesn't want.
Yeah,
Or maybe he does want all of them and he's having trouble with it.
I think Nicholas kept that curse for a reason. So I think Nicholas is just gonna slam
Yeah.
as soon as he gets to play. But he does have a mystic in hand as well, I believe. Yep, there is a mystic as well, and he is slamming that Karis, yes.
I do
And
think
we have
Karis
the
is definitely
Nemesis.
the best one. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got Nemesis on the other side. Not ideal, I don't think, for Loopy.
I don't think it's the worst.
Nope.
He does get a spy out of it. Although I don't remember the timing. Oh, it doesn't matter because Karis, the
Karis
other
has
Karis,
initiative.
well, the force
Karis,
Karis won't
the
die, so he
witch,
can't do the
exactly.
-2. Yeah.
The witch Karis will be able to take out the Nemesis, and Karis Nemesis will then create a spy that can trade right back.
Yeah, so it could be worse, or the spy could just go to base.
Yeah, either or.
I was thinking like if which Karis kills and dies into Karis Nemec, do you get to do the -2 to the spy? Will the spy be there?
No, because it dies before. It'll die when it trades, right?
Well, I was just thinking like ahead, like if which Karis had like 2 damage on her and then attacked into Karis Nemec, then creating the spy, and then can you use the force after? I guess you'd get to choose the order. I think you could pull it off, but I'd have to go
yeah, because both of them are then when defeated. So since you're in turn, you can tell your opponent to create the spy first, and then you can trigger yours.
That's an interesting thought for other ones.
That
And
definitely
Loopy's getting his red 5 out here.
Yeah, that's
to go
exactly what he
against.
wants.
Unfortunately for Talzin, who wanted to do Krennic plus.
Emphasis flips on 5, right?
Yes, Emphasis is also a 5.
Yeah, so you can't really delay your flip then.
Ooh, Loopy does not have the disclose for Nemec to get the spy.
Oh, and there's no, since there was a shield obviously on Krennic, he doesn't have damage.
Correct.
And perfect answer. Shatterpoint, perfect there.
Oh, and the hauler comes down right after though, so that's
Hauler
feels a little bit bad for Talzin.
Yeah, Hauler is good here.
Yeah. It's another one of those back and forth early games that I don't
really
feel like either of them are super advantaged right now.
Not at all. They have arena split. Yeah, that hauler might remain for quite a while.
Yep. It's an interesting chess match here. So does Loopy have another emphasis into helmet plus sudden ferocity kind of turn looking ahead of us, or what do we got?
Who would know? He is.
Oh, it's Han Solo on the hauler.
Oh, Solo on the hauler. Yeah, that is very good.
That's massive.
Still keeping 3 open. Welcome back for round number. Is that round number 4 we're on now? We're on
it's the
round
third
number
round.
The third round of the second day of Adepticon coverage from SVU Premier tournaments, from the FFG special tournaments here, where you can win the No Fear, Only Dead Men, something like that. Only Fear, No Dead Men. I don't know. The playmat that is really gorgeous.
Fear and Dead Men.
Fear and Dead Men. Yes. With me that you can hear is obviously the man, the myth, Tower from McClunkey Gaming. My name is Victor from the Nordic Takedown. I hope you're all having a great evening.
Yeah, and Victor, I believe we saw this player get a nice win previously against Command Obi-Wan. I think we have Micah Overlay up there with the Mother Talzin red deck playing against, this time it's going to be, I believe, Vel Sartha.
Yep. This will be a different matchup for sure. Val is certainly a much harder control style of deck, I think.
Should be interesting to see how this one goes.
Yeah, certainly. Both come down with. I think Val, that would be the best possible play for Val turn 1, right? Be able to just buff up Nemec there to not be within striking distance for that first round play. And then killing the credit immediately with Arven Skeen before Micah can use it. And
Yeah,
we
this
see
is
him.
really so. Vel is an interesting leader because you have this ability to give yourself experience, and it doesn't cost anything, but it gives your opponent a credit. So
Mhm.
all the anti-credit cards, like this Arvel Skeen, become much stronger in the context of a Vel deck, where you have basically a guarantee that your opponent's going to have credits, even if they're not playing a deck that generates credits on their own, because
Mm.
your deck gives it to them, and then you also play the stuff that removes or blanks it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting scenario.
Right, right. And Arven Skeen is doing some really interesting things with credits. Being able to actually ping the base like that, it might not be a control strategy at all. From the two cards we've seen played on Vel's side so far, it looks very aggressive actually.
Yeah, so Karis Nemec already in
Trade into Arven with that IG, but sorry, Inquisitor, but it doesn't look like he wants to use the Grand Inquisitor and trade there because that would be a 1-for-1 trade. He could
yeah,
also,
Arvel is a 4/3, so
yeah,
looks like
instead,
Nemec's the target.
yeah, taking out Nemec, but that is still going to kill Grand Inquisitor. You could put the Acolyte into Arvenskeen, and then kill it with Talzin ability, but not before Vel gets to buff Arven. And yeah, it does it immediately here, and thus actually making Arven one bigger. No, he's buffing the spy token instead to make it
Yeah, he's
survive.
the spy out of range
Mm,
of Tria's Acolyte. Ooh, but there's Tyrannus with an
mm,
ambush taking out
yeah,
Arvel.
that's nice to play. And then the credit actually remains.
That's right. So the Tria's Acolyte now attacks into the spy, doesn't kill it, but brings it in range of Talzin's ability. And our
Right.
Vel player is really going to have to rebuild the board, but hasn't spent resources yet this turn.
Nope.
This is kind of the downside of playing Vel. If your opponent can handle these things, you
You
might
are.
end up in some trouble.
Yeah, yeah. And right now, that lone red 5 in the sky might just be the ticket though, because being able to do incidental damage on ground while still hitting base could get out of hand, because as we talked about before, there are only very limited ways where this Talzin deck might be able to interact with space.
Yeah. Oh, and there's
Arvel.
another Arvel Skeen removing
Mhm.
the credit and pinging off Tria's Acolyte.
Yeah. Micah hasn't spent any resources yet, though, so he is still liable to do so. Shrinking Arvel, which still would not allow Turnus to trade and survive, but that might not be the plan because this is flip turn, and he might just want to kill it with Mother Talzin
Talzin.
instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fairly reasonable. Keeps the that would then keep Tyrannus in play to potentially push some more damage.
Right. Right. It would be advantageous to get some board state here. Paying 3 for what I can only assume is that lightsaber on Talzin. Indeed, it is. That makes Talzin actually quite formidable. With raid 2 and +2, and that is all right. I can't remember that aggression thing there, but it's +3/+3 anyway. Battle Fury, that's the name of it. Yes, and he has
Talzin
to discard a
hugely
card though.
buffed.
Yeah, he does have to discard a card for battle.
It's HP total there. I can't quite see what that
So
dial or whatever is showing.
I think we're on a 30 base for for
Yeah.
yes, well, on Val, but I think Micah is obviously on the 4 space 28.
Hmm.
But this could very well easily get out of hand. We should have had at least, what would that be? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. No. 4 damage on base on Val space now, right? Because Talzin did kill Arvel, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So we're looking at a situation where the damage is gonna increase pretty fast though, with Talzin and all those buffs swinging in.
And Val did play aggressive negotiation to put some extra damage from that red 5 this turn. And this is flip turn for Val as well, I think. So Val is pushing damage to base quite fast. Which ship was that Micah played though? Can't really tell.
Yeah, it's interesting. Looks like it's
It's
not
one of the
a
OP
deck
pack.
with no space. I think it's the I believe it's a organized play or premier promo.
Yeah, I think it's an
It
OP pack
I
because it
think it's
has that
the
fog
I think
border.
it's that Star Destroyer that does damage to a ground unit when played and on attack, but I'm not
Oh,
100% sure.
yeah, it could be. And if that's the case, that would explain why they are scooping up here, because that would be game 1 to Micah, right?
I believe so.
So that would have been the Devastator doing 4 damage to red 5, and I think that made yes scoop. I'm not entirely sure if that's what happened there.
I'm gonna unmute for this. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was just Devastator, and then that was lethal, and there was no way to deal with it. I'm gonna try and track damage on Jess's base manually for the next game because I can't really see with the glare on that.
Yeah, I
live
can't
card.
tell what it is.
Yeah. We are going into sideboards here, and I am not sure how to sideboard against this Val deck, and I certainly have no clue what the Val deck would even have in its sideboard. We did have a Val deck do really well in the Nexus Invitational 2 weeks ago.
Did you attend that event?
I did indeed. I felt I have never had as much imposter syndrome as I did that day.
Some real competitors there.
Yes, that was a stacked field if ever I saw one. 32 players only, but my
That's
God,
some good
some of
ones.
those plays were really good. You know it's a good field when you have Cerebus, who came in, what, 3rd or 4th in Galactics, knocked out in 2 straight losses. Then the field is harsh.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, one thing that I think has been funny about that also is we have not really seen the what's it called? There's that Tobias Beckett deck that ultimately won that with Baton, and that's a deck that in the States we really have not seen much of it.
Tournament, I was sitting talking to him, and he was telling me how hard the deck is to parlay, and it sounded to me like he was actually having doubts if it was a good choice to bring it or not. But then in the hands of that man, it is just a powerhouse, of course. But then I'm not sure if it's the deck as much as it's just bet on himself that he can win with anything. We've seen him bring absolutely crazy decks to tournaments and do really well.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right.
So
Well, it looks like
we're underway here.
Geofane versus
Karis.
Karis here at the
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
And that does mean there's going to be a credit being given out here with Velsarth's ability buffing Chio. And here
Yep.
comes Arvel Skeen to get rid of that credit.
Immediately. But also, we're going to get a lot of card draw now. A little bit afraid of that aggressive negotiation getting out of hand, I guess. So we should have 3 on base there? No? No, yeah, no, it's minus. So it's nothing. He's just taking care of it. Because of this.
Let's see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Micah,
Condemn here, very, very actually strong removal piece in the current game. But if we see any upgrade removal on Vel's side, and I do think there's a good chance of it, and there it is.
Yeah, it's just removing it. I think that one will only remove non-unique upgrades, right?
Yeah, so that is which one was that? Was that piercing shot?
System shock, I think.
System shock, that's right. Yeah. So there's 2. So system shock, it defeats a non-leader upgrade. So it does work on unique upgrades, but not on leaders. And then the there's another one that sometimes sees play, which is piercing shot, which only works on shields, but then does more damage.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
But I believe that was system shock because piercing shot would not work there. So knocks off. You do have to damage your own unit, which is a bit awkward. Would probably be more efficient in a situation like that to have, the Outer Rim Constable or whatever. But Outer Rim Constables don't really live long against Talzin anyway. So
not very good in this matchup. I do see aggressive negotiations in Jess's hand there, and I do think I see a Syntha, the blue Syntha that becomes a Sentinel when it's buffed.
Certainly a powerful unit.
Yeah, could be key to slow things down a little bit here. Caris used the Force to deal with Sheen Fei, well, the card draw unit.
Yeah. And now, I think that's the -2. I think it's a -2/-2 from Karis.
Yeah, that would make sense. And
it does appear that we're seeing the buff being used from Vel on Cinta.
Yeah.
Cinta becomes a Sentinel. As you say, Micah, using Talzin's ability -3 or -1/-1. So we have a total of -3/-3 on red 5. And then Talzin's on attack will be able to clear red 5 if there isn't some kind of buff for it or exhaust for Talzin. Let's see what our Vel player can put together here.
Looked like the Vel player was just passing there. And that is also the event exclusive Sash in the hand of Micah there that would be able to buff Talzin enough to clear Cinta, right? Cinta would have 6 HP now, and she would hit for 5 and do the minus on Cinta instead. Then she could clear Cinta, but that doesn't look like that's not what's happening here. Micah
I mean the downside of doing that is that you don't get to clear red 5. So it looks like it's just going to be a normal attack into Cinta, the -1/-1 being given there, and then a shatter point used to clear Cinta.
Wonder why he didn't do it the other way around. Why not play the shatter point first and then?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think he actually didn't have the Force, I believe, because he had used it for the -1/-1.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely
so he had to do it in this order.
But is it 2 cost or 3 cost on Shatterpoint?
Shatterpoint actually costs 4, but I believe he may have had a credit there.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of the restriction when you have to use the Force.
It's not based on. I believe that's what he did. So I think he had to attack with Talzin first to get the Force. That also put Cinta in range to be cleared by it without using the Force. So he still has the Force token there on the left side
Oh yeah. Okay.
in his space arena.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Galen Urso here, but I'm guessing he's blanking one of the units now rather than the credit tokens, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's also possible he says credit anyway because we're going to be getting a swing from Vel this turn. Looks like Vel gets -3/-3 from Talzin's Assassin, but we
then
then see a
+3/+3.
nimble prowess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so we're
that's
gonna
+1/+1.
Yeah, +1/+1. It'll exhaust Mother Talzin, and then on attack, Vel can, I believe, give herself an experience
Yeah,
in
she
exchange for
can,
credit.
for sure. And Merrin, between Merrin ability, and Dark Tyrannus, could you possibly handle Val here? She is
Yeah, so Marin could
7.
attack. Tyrannus attacking Vel would not actually die because of the debuffs, but it looks like
Exactly.
Mike is going for base instead. Marin could do a total of 4,
Which would still
which would
not do
not be
it.
enough with the nimble prowess. So yeah, both
Right.
units would have had to crash into Vel here. Now Vel attacks and gives herself an experience
I mean, you could have
that
just
is
do
that
Turnus
is going to
to
send a
Val.
credit over. Yeah, I do think that if both Marin and Tyrannus attacked in, it would work, but it looks like it's going to be a more aggressive game.
Absolutely.
Now we're about to see. I don't know quite what the base HP total is here, but it does look like Micah's taking a very aggressive stance.
Yeah, I
However,
think
I think we have
Micah
a
is
Sentinel
ahead by
here.
quite a lot.
Zeb Aurelius showing up and does
clear
get
out
to
Talzin.
do that damage, removing Talzin. Also throws a Sentinel in the way, but a 4/4 Sentinel.
It's not going to
It's
last
just going to
long.
be very easy to trade here. Even like,
Yeah.
in fact, Marin could defeat it without trading, I believe.
Yeah, she'd survive, but she'd have to discard a card.
That's right. Yeah, so the question becomes, do you have a card that's worth losing? I do think sending Marin in and discarding a card would be pretty nice, but it looks like that's not the
That's a
play.
better option. That is a
Oh,
much
here's
better
the
option.
Sun.
The
In the
Sun,
previous match, we saw this card be a huge closer and cause a lot of problems. Let's
Yeah.
see if this Vel player has a better way to handle it. I don't think, if so, I don't think it will be this turn though, because there's only one resource still up.
right. But I think this is kind of an innovation that the Nexus team the Enigma team was doing for Galactics last year to put the Sun into their red Talzin decks, and it's been a staple ever since. Just because the ability to close out games with a nice board here in the late mid game, and then you just all of it gets buffed. Trading out Seb with Marin without discarding a card now, and then just the rest might just crash
Yeah, that's
into
an interesting
basic.
one. You don't have to discard if you give yourself +2 power with the Sun.
Exactly. And that is exact lethal apparently, because we do see the fist bump there. Well
Once
played.
again, strong performance from Micah Overly with the Mother Talzin red.
Yeah. No, Micah is definitely one of those players that always bring it and is always able to win out games and take even the grindiest games. So no surprise that he's doing well in the tournament today. I'm
curious about what do you think about the different what do you think about the different colors for Talzin? I know that Talzin yellow has seen some play. Talzin red here, though, certainly looks to be giving out a strong showing.
I do think that the Talzin yellow deck was really, really strong into OB Virgin's Temple. I think with the having super strong ambush units on 4, 5, and 6 cost, the yellow deck into almost everything else, I just think the red version is just stronger. But both of these are actually more intricate decks than what they seem to be, and possibly the red one is slightly more hard to pilot. So we've seen that throughout since Force Throw was banned. We've seen that some players have stuck to the Talzin Red and done really, really well with it, even though it fell off, just because how intricate it is to play. When you had Force Throw, anyone could just pilot it and win off of how well it could utilize Force Throw, but that elite players of that deck, and they just
It putting together a very strong performance here at this tournament so far. So we'll see. We'll see how it does in other events. And I believe they're getting those fancy mats right now. I think we see them over to the side of the board there.
Yep, yeah. And I do believe that's the third such mat for Micah. He won one the first day, and then yesterday he won another one. So this would be his third Vader mat here.
Well, you know, that's a those are some nice prizes to get your hands on, and he can you know, potentially trade or sell extra ones, or maybe just, you know, bring out 3 mats to one game as a real intimidation factor.
Put on a Twin Sons tournament at home with all Fear and Dead Men mats.
Yeah, that would be wild. But you know, the
Yep.
you can put some cool stuff together sometimes, and I guess the Talzin Red is one to watch out for here.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think this is the last we've seen of that deck. I believe that's a deck that's going to stay strong. It didn't really lose much in rotation. Powered the dark side, of course, but you could, if you wanted to, just change that out for the shuttle, or maybe just play other cards. I don't think this deck lost a lot in rotation. Well, no, yeah, it did lose Force Lightning. That was actually a very powerful card in that deck.
Yeah, Force Lightning, I think, was a really interesting one because that was a card that we saw at the in the game's very first set, Spark of Rebellion. But
Mm,
it really like wasn't that good until all the way in Legends of the Force when Villainy finally got enough good Force units to justify it.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, right. It did take a while. I remember when I was looking
Mm.
initially at the card pool of that first set, I immediately ordered 3 copies of Force Lightning because of the kind of effect that to blank something in other card games that I've played. It's always been a staple effect and always.
Interesting thing because, like you said, you know, in other card games, even some of Fantasy Flight Games'
Mhm.
own card gagames,
Yeah,
those sorts of effects have been extremely powerful. So, you know, in Legends of the Five Rings,
yeah,
LCG, the
100%.
that was really
Paper
good. In the Game
Shield or
of
something.
Thrones LCG, you know, Milk of the
100%.
Poppy. Yeah,
Mickle Puppy, yeah, always. Yeah,
but
no, yeah.
you know, in this
Such
one, it
such an
wasn't
interesting one.
as powerful, but once we saw enough force units, all of a sudden it became very relevant for the damage side.
Yeah, yeah. Just the removal of it and the versatility of that removal, being able to kill things that can't be killed with other removal events, as well as just being flexible enough to reach any HP really, as long as you have the credit for it.
Yeah, was a
Yep.
really a very powerful card and an interesting one to see on the field in its brief moment of glory in sets 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to show how often there are cards that someone might not necessarily think are so strong at first, but maybe you end up reevaluating that by the time that the meta has shifted around, and you end up with a very different thought on a card compared to how it looked in the early game.
And I think that's what's making this rotation situation we're in right now so compelling to me. That we have to re-look at a lot of cards now. What are that we've just not seen yet?
Yeah, you could very much be right. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how things develop as the game continues, and I think that rotation is a great time to yeah, like you said, you know, do some reevaluation, some reappraisal of effects that might have been really good at one time, but
Mhm.
in a new context, what was good in the past may no longer be good. It's a very interesting situation, and I think that you know, we're already seeing some we're already seeing some decks doing well that I think were kind of predicted to do well. I think people for a while thought that, for instance, Luke Data Vault was going to be a
Mm,
strong deck. That wasn't a big
yeah.
secret.
No, yeah.
But at the same time, I am not sure. I'm not sure people would have said, "Oh yeah, you know what's going to be really good." I think it's going to be really popular for people to play Talzin Red. I
Yeah.
think when that Jin Urso was previewed, she did not seem to be a good leader,
No, yeah.
and
And she
she's had
does
some
have
good
some.
results.
Hmm.
Beckett, the ones that aren't, I say aspectless. What I mean is the ones that
Yeah,
have neither heroism nor villainy.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
Beckett has some moves, and I've actually even. Have you looked at Eternal? I've heard that Beckett is actually a threat even in Eternal.
Really. I
Yeah.
I sort of written Eternal off until they ban Django, but I might be wrong on that one because from what I've heard so far from those that do look into it, it doesn't seem that Django is as dominating as some of us have thought he would be.
Yeah, I think that people were saying there's a Beckett deck where you give your opponent units with bounty and then kill them. And
Hmm.
then if you set things up right, you can do a very early endless legions
Oh,
and bring out like a huge board, and you get to like super accelerate it with the credits. I don't know if it's an actual good deck or if it's a meme or what, but people
yeah.
were saying it destroys a bunch of normal decks. I think Quinlan is actually quite good in Eternal. Obviously, you can play with Boba and Django. I mean,
Mm.
it's an interesting format, and I think perhaps like yourself, it's not a format that I have done the most exploration in, but it is one that I think has some potential to be a new way to play the game, and one that might attract players that like playing with whatever the most powerful things they can build are, and putting together the craziest combos with an even bigger card pool.
For sure. And in my mind, whether or not we get a Django ban, just having more ways to play the game is just inherently better.
Mm,
If we can diversify the experience, how is that a bad thing? If for my
yeah.
money's worth, the more the merrier.
Yeah, it's not like, I think sometimes it is possible to overdo it. Like you could like there's a point at which you could split the community. Like if you had like 10 different competitive formats or something, and
Yeah,
that
no,
doesn't seem bad to me. That seems totally fine. Having three competitive formats. And additionally, I like the way that they've done it where Premiere is the, Premiere format and more events are Premiere, but
mhm,
you still have some opportunities for the other ones as well.
it's needed to start competing in Eternal, but the other is definitely not true. If you are to compete in Eternal, you're gonna have to keep up with the new set still. So that means you're gonna be able to build Premier decks as well.
Yeah, and I do think that by night will cost $500 or something, but like,
Let's hope.
that's not where we're at now.
No. No, I think Eternal will be much more closely related to where you see Modern in
Mm,
Magic right now. Not exactly, because Modern is actually surpassed their Premier format, I think, in Playbase, but it's much more closely an analogous still.
interesting. Yeah, I have not been much of a Magic player for a while now, but I know they've been experimenting with various formats. There was that Pioneer format and so on.
Mhm.
And I think really there's actually a lot of room for innovation. We've even seen in Magic, they say the most popular format now is EDH, or Commander
Mm.
as it's called.
Yeah, Commander is for sure the most popular. But
Right. And
but
so who knows, maybe the future of Star Wars Unlimited, Twin Suns will be the biggest format out there.
right?
I would be kind of surprised, to tell you the truth. I don't think that's necessarily a likely outcome, but it can be interesting to see what sorts of things happen as these games evolve.
I think it's a function of how you interact with the game. And if you're looking at a weekly play situation where the main interaction format for the game is to go to your local store and interact with players in the same way that Friday Night Magic has been for years and years, then of course something like Twin Suns is very interesting because it sort of invites players in. You're able to pull in new players more easily because of it not being competitive. If you're a new player and you show up and you sit down with a guy like Micah that brings out the Talzin's deck here and you get crushed, you might not be compelled to to buy into this game. But if you're sitting down and you play some very thematic and weird deck that someone hands you in being what Commander is for Magic.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that develops. And you bring up a good point about like how are many people experiencing the game? What format are the local stores doing?
Mm,
I think another one that's interesting is in limited, I think, there's draft and sealed. And
right.
at least in my area, we see a lot more draft than we do sealed events, except for pre-releases, which are always sealed, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a lot of interest in there's a lot of interest, I think, in the draft format for local play. But if you're going to a big event, you need to be very able to play in the sealed format as well. In
Yeah,
fact, most of the games are going to be in the sealed format.
100%.
So it's an interesting one. I actually wonder if we're going to see more sealed local events as people try to start training for these larger limited tournaments where the Swiss rounds are generally played in that sealed format.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do think that you need to train the skill, and it is not exactly the same skill as draft because of how the deck composition is going to be very different. Like in sealed, it's more of solving a puzzle, and in draft, it is about knowing and reading the very draft sort of situation. So I think those are actually quite different skills,
Yeah.
even though in the end you might up with somewhat similar decks, getting there is different.
Yeah, and I think many people will say, "Oh, draft is the more skilled format because
Mm,
it's not as based on your random draw and you have to know more about what's going on with your opponents as well as what your deck is trying to do." And it's like, well, in a sense, you could say, yeah, that's true.
mm,
I think it would be reasonable to say that there are a lot of skills involved in draft that are not involved in some sealed gameplay. But at the
yeah,
same time, you could also say, well, sealed is really going to test your deck construction and so on to the utmost because you're going to have to figure out what can I do with the specific things that I've been given and like these very strict constraints. Like, what can I do that's going to be the best possible in that circumstance? And I think it's different aspects of the game that are being tested. And I think, you can have formats that involve multiple aspects of the game and can lead to some very interesting gameplay.
yeah. And I think also the whole idea that draft is more skill based is kind of a false narrative that you're kind of telling yourself because of how it feels. So when you get a really bad sealed pool and you sit there and you can't build anything that you feel comfortable with, then you're gonna write it off as, it was just I was unlucky. I didn't get the cards I wanted. But when you're doing a draft, you could be just as easily screwed by sitting next to someone that is completely misreading your signals, and you end up being just randomly not getting good cards as well because of how you think you're getting signals from someone, and then that player isn't actually sending those signals and start randomly picking the things that should be open. And well, you could be screwed in draft as well. It just feels like you're in control of something you're not actually that much in control of anyway. I think the skill set is different, but they are equally skilled in the end. That's my read.
Yeah, I mean, I think one other important thing to distinguish is that the difference between high level and low level draft play
Mm,
is it's pretty big. And I do think that in higher level play in a draft, there are somewhat more predictable behaviors and things with respect to reads and like signaling,
True.
and so on that I
True.
think do create a really interesting environment. But another thing that I like about the limited format is, if you go to these limited PQs, it
Mhm.
is sealed into draft. So you start out with the draft side and then, or I'm sorry, you start out with the sealed side and then the top 8 drafts. And I
Yeah.
think that's so cool because like you can have like the 0 to hero of like I have a bad sealed pool, but I clawed my way into top 8 and now
Mhm.
this draft gives me like the chance at redemption here, get a more
Yeah.
powerful deck for the top. Or you could have the opposite.
Yeah.
You could have the
Yeah.
best sealed pool ever.
Yeah.
And but once it's top 8, you can't rely on the 3 legendaries that you pulled in the same colors or whatever. You have to you have to draft and be on a more even footing with the other players. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. After Paris, we had Thies from the Two Moons team, and he did really well, made top 8 for Paris. And we talked extensively on exactly that. He in the seal, he got a really good seal pool that he was really happy with too, and then they did another draft for top 8. So going into that day 2 draft, he was really scared that he wasn't going to be able to get as good a draft pool as he did a seal pool, but then he did and got a super good deck again for the day 2 draft. But then he got screwed in day in the top cut, and was not able to draft a really good deck for the top cut. So it he was talking exactly about that, how he was not necessarily happy to let go of his seal deck or that draft day 2 draft deck, and move into new unknown territory, and draft all over again.
Yeah, I mean it's very interesting. There can really be some cool dynamics in these limited events, and I think it's if you have not checked out some limited play yourself or attended any of these events that use the limited format, I would personally recommend it. In when we went to the regional championship in Milwaukee, they
Mm.
had 2 different like kind of main events. There was a
Yeah,
limited main event, and then there was also a premier constructed main event.
which
And
is a feature of these regional tournaments.
yeah, and so I believe, if you're headed to one of those regional championships, I'd recommend, there's one side of that you really like, but I think, why not sign up for both? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And check out both sides of those events. I think there's a, is it the one, is the next regional the one in Prague? Is that right?
Yep. Yep, that's the one. We're still waiting for ticket sales to come up. They just released the homepage where the tickets are going to be sold, but they have not announced what day the tickets will go on sale. And seeing how the last, let me see, last 3 European events, they've all been sectors, granted, but they're all sold out in a very short amount of time, with especially Tilburg in the Netherlands selling out in like 15-20 minutes. Munich sold out in half an hour, 40 minutes, sell out a regional. But Lille, the first regional, was actually close to the numbers where you would sell out now. They were well over 800 people attending. So that one was at least close to the 1,084 or whatever tickets there are.
Yeah, I think that I personally I've been to the city of Prague several times for work,
Hmm.
and it's a beautiful city. It's
Oh yeah.
a very nice location there in kind of Central Europe.
Hmm.
Easy, I think, to get to for people from many different European
Yeah,
locations,
very much.
and I think we could see a really big event going on over there.
I bet there's a lot of players that will just have an easier time getting there than to something like, I mean, of course, Tilburg isn't that hard to get to. The Netherlands is all connected really well, but Prague has major international airports, and you can fly there with all the low budget airlines from all over Europe, as well as it being in the middle of Europe. Like you say, you can drive there from all over Germany and Central Europe. So I do believe
what that regional ends up looking like. And I think we are probably going to go to a quick break here. So we will be back with more of Star Wars Unlimited for you soon.
Yeah, round number 4 will come in a while. See you soon.